Well, good morning, Internet. I'm glad you're all here. Today is Saturday, May 22nd, 2021, and I hope everyone's doing well this morning. I know there was no video this week. This week was a busy week. If you follow me on social media, you know that my oldest child graduated high school last Sunday, and we've been kind of celebrating that, and just busy with work and medical stuff with our middle child and all kinds of stuff that I'm not going to bother you with. But I hope you're doing well this morning. Give us a thumbs up if you like the content. There will be new videos this week. I'll be working on those tonight, tomorrow. I'm trying to get enough videos done that I can get at least one out a week for like a month and not have to worry about it. Because if you're a YouTuber or if you do anything on social media, you understand that if you're not posting, then the algorithm kind of shuffles you to the bottom, right? But I don't want to just put out, I'm at a point where I don't want to put out a video just to put out a video. So I've got some, what I think is good content coming. I was actually going to make a video out of what we're going to talk about here partially this morning. But let me go to the comments real quick. Good morning, Ryan Sharp. Morning. Is it Zaphael? Morning, Jacob Johnson. Good morning, Barry. CH. I look tired. So normally I'm up between 4 and 5 a.m. Central Time. And it's been a really long week. And my wife last night was like, "You're not going to set an alarm, are you?" I'm like, "Nope, I won't set an alarm." So I was up at 5 a.m. without an alarm, made coffee. As soon as day broke, I got the push mower out. I push mowed half our yard. Then did dishes and then cooked breakfast out on the griddle. So it's been a pretty productive morning so far. And after this, we're actually going to go to the farmer's market and check out a couple things. So back to the comments. Good morning, Steve Yoder. Orette, good morning. David Anderson says, "Morning, Willie. Driving to Peoria. Gonna miss this one." David, where are you going in Peoria? You're coming to P-Town, and I'm assuming that's Peoria, Illinois. Morning, Gibby. And Ryan says, "Before you ask." Yes, we can hear and see you. All right. Good morning, T and Bighorn from Nashville. Good morning, Danny. Gibby says, "You can tell how hard you are working on how thick the beard is." At least that's what everyone tells me. That's funny. T and Bighorn, yes. James and I are going to do that video, but we want to make sure that we do it correctly and that we do it tastefully. So we just need a little bit of time on that. Good morning, Sean. Sylvain is representing Quebec in the house. Good morning, Bob. Bob, I'm going to make you a moderator real quick. Everybody, please remember to keep Joe from Cajoling Tech in your thoughts. Good thoughts, good vibes going out to Joe, my buddy. He's going through some stuff, and we've only talked a couple times this week, but make sure you're keeping him in your thoughts. And Tony pinged me early this morning. By the way, Tony put out a great video over at QuickTech this morning about how to host your own RTMP server on a Synology and a Docker. So if you're interested in hosting your own RTMP server, go check that out over at QuickTech. Morning, Blaine. Morning, Prentice. David, you never told me why you were going to Peoria. Maybe it's none of my business, but all right. So hope everybody's doing well. If you've got networking questions, if you've got security questions, wireless questions, whatever, make sure you are putting your questions in the comment, whether it's voice over IP or whatever. If I can't answer it, we'll figure it out. But last night I was drinking, I've taken a fancy to peanut butter whiskey. And good morning, Dennis Warwick. Dennis is in the house. And taking a fancy to peanut butter whiskey. And then there's also this this stuff called Tippy Cow. And it is chocolate shake rum. And last night I was sitting there and I fixed my wife a drink. She was drinking peanut butter whiskey with cranberry juice, which tastes just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's kind of crazy. But sitting there thinking, I almost did this video last night, but I was like, I'm just going to chill out and hang out with the family. And the video I was going to do last night, and I think that I want to do a series of these, maybe. I don't know. I'm looking for some feedback from all of you. But I was going to do a video called What's in a Name? Cambium Networks. And we were going to look at the name, Cambium Networks, talk about what Cambium is, because a friend of mine, Jacob, he's a tree expert. And more specifically, he's a native Illinois tree expert. But one thing that's universal about tree experts is they understand the whole anatomy of a tree and how things work. And we were talking about stocks, and Cambium Networks came up. And he's like, wait a minute, this company is called Cambium Networks. And he explained to me what Cambium is. And then it like clicked to me. It was like, oh, this is why the company is called Cambium, or could be. I haven't talked to anybody over there, so I'm going to speculate about this a little bit. We're going to look at that here in a minute. And if my family, my wife, my daughter, my son, anybody's watching, good morning. Jacob, do those have the square pegs or those pre-drilled round holes on the rack? All right. While we're waiting for Jacob to answer, Sylvain says, hey, Willie, do you believe Ubiquiti will replace AirMax for Wi-Fi 6 for ISP? I don't know if they will. I don't think that they probably will, but if you're looking for Wi-Fi 6 backhauls, Cambium is actually the place to get that. So let's hop over to the big screen here. And let's take a look at the history of Cambium Networks, right? So we're thinking about what's in the name, like why is Cambium called Cambium? So Cambium, the folks who started Cambium came from Motorola Canopy. All right, if you remember Motorola Canopy, they were one of the earlier big players in fixed wireless. And when you use the word canopy, what is a tree canopy? So the tree canopy refers to the part of a city that is shaded by trees. Imagine, or it could be anything. It could be the forest or whatever, but the canopy covers, right? So Motorola Canopy was a wireless technology that covers. Enter Cambium Networks. So they take Motorola Canopy, it becomes, the folks leave, it becomes Cambium Networks. So if this is what it was, this is brilliant, right? Somebody over there coming up with the name. If anybody knows or can show somebody from Cambium this, I've got contacts over there, but I never told them I was going to talk about this. But if this is really why they call it Cambium, I mean, it makes so much sense, right, for their business model. So if we look at what the cambium cell layer of a tree is the growing part of the trunk. It annually produces new bark and new wood in response to hormones that pass down through the phloem. I'm not a naturalist, so take it easy on me. But the cambium keeps the tree growing, right? So Cambium Networks keeps the network growing. Mind blown, right? So I think if people would enjoy this, I'm going to dig in a little bit. I'll even reach out to people and be like, hey, is this really why? So maybe somebody over at Cambium is going to see this, and then we will have an answer as to, is this really why it's called Cambium? I would like to think that we hit the nail on the head. And what other companies would you like us to dig into? Now remember, don't take this for gospel. This is purely speculation on my part. I have not talked to anybody. I have absolutely no idea if that's really why they named this Cambium. But if you look at the history, right, we come from Motorola Canopy, and a canopy, wireless. Wireless is covering an entire area. Over to Cambium, which makes a network grow. I mean, it makes sense. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm grasping at straws. Maybe I'm trying to create an internet theory. By the way, if you haven't watched the channel, the YouTube channel Food Theory, it's a great channel. And I told the guys that we should create an internet theory channel and chase some of these stuff. But let's go back over to the comments here real quick. Gibby says, what is everyone using for standard brand hard drives and size for Synology? Well, Gibby, that depends on which Synology model you're using. And it depends on what you're using it for, right? So if we buy a Synology and we're using it specifically for surveillance station, it's going to get a purple drive from Western Digital, or it's going to get a Skyhawk drive, because those are meant for video. If it's just kind of storage that's not going to be, you know, high access, high I/O, you know, then we'll use like a standard Iron Wolf. We may use a red drive. But then if it's going to be a lot of I/O and uptime and stuff's going to be important, then we look at enterprise grade drives. It's called Cambium because Juniper and Extreme were taken. I don't know about that. Oh, Jacob, yeah, let me know. So I actually have a full-size 2-post rack that my wife and I are actually going to put together tonight. So that should be, it'll be like putting kids' toys together at Christmas. We'll see which one of us comes out alive. What is my thoughts on mimosa? Mimosa is a fantastic drink, Barry. Fantastic. Ryan Sharp says, where did you get the name for your company, Willie? So do you really want to know how I ended up with Willie Howe Technology, LLC? It's actually a pretty good story. So back when I first started doing the consulting, right after I started the channel, so I'd always kind of done consulting, but I never had a proper LLC, a proper structure, things like that. And so I put some thought into the company name, and there are 5 of us in my immediate family, so it became H5 Technology. Our last name is Howe, starts with an H, and there are 5 of us, so H5 Technology LLC. We tooled along for a little while. Everything was going great. Everything was good. Turns out that there's a company that owns the trademark for an H with a 5, and they are very big, and they are H5 Technology. They're a very big company, and they very aggressively protect their IPO. I had no idea, right? So if you're starting a business, make sure you go out and you research trademarks and copyrights so that you're not infringing. That is very important. And I could probably do a video if you'd all be interested on how I actually registered my my trademark, the process that I went through, how long it took, and all that stuff. Because my logo, the H with the lines in there, I actually own the trademark for that through the United States Patent Office. So their legal counsel reached out to me. She was very nice. They didn't want any money. They just asked that I stop using H5. And I went and I looked at their trademark claims and stuff like that. And every time that they sued somebody, they won. And so, I mean, it's not that we weren't going to comply, but, you know, you want to make sure you're not getting trolled. You get a contact form on your website, somebody saying that you are, you know, infringing on their trademark. You know, some of that stuff is fake. Those things are out there. So, you know, I called the lawyer on the phone. She was very nice, explained. So we restructured the company, came up with a new logo, and inside of 2 weeks, we had a new name. And we were cooking with gas. So I thought it was just much easier to go with Willie Howe Technology because my legal name is Willie Howe, right? So we're not going to get into any disputes over that name. So that's where it came from, Ryan. Tyler says, I want to play around with Unify Protect and Unify cameras. Should they be put on a VLAN? So normally, we do separate cameras onto their own VLAN. However, Protect wasn't able to, they didn't have like that management option. There's a new version out. I need to check it out. Ubiquiti is sending me a couple G4 cameras. You know, with a lot of the features and stuff that they're adding, I am warming back up to it. And I do think that it's a good fit for certain situations. It's not a good fit for all situations. I'm bidding on a school district who has 5 buildings and like 300 cameras, and it is not a good fit for that because they need to be able to manage all their remote NVRs from one location. So that is a Synology quote. Let's see. Sean says, for surveillance, I've been using 4 to 6 terabyte Western Digital Purples. Yeah, we either use the Western Digital Purples or we use the Skyhawks. Blaine says, I heard Steve Jobs called Apple because it comes before Atari and the phone book. That's interesting because Atari had computers, you know, around the same time that Apple did too. There was a bunch of those weird, clunky, the Commodore, all those back then. Gibby says he's looking at the DS620 for file storage, DHCP server backup. You know what? I would just go with either Iron Wolf or Iron Wolf Pros. Probably either 6 or 8 terabytes, Gibby. We are not having any more children. I appreciate the thought that we could have another child and change the company name to H6, but that, hate to disappoint you, that is not going to happen. So we have contributed to the species by producing 3 very bright children that are going to carry the torch and make sure that the species survives. We are done contributing to the gene pool at the first layer here. Okay. Bob says he's been using Western Digital Reds in his Synologies for years. So we were using Synology Reds, and I have to tell you, we got a batch of those SHR drives, and almost every single one of them has failed. And so I have almost run away from Western Digital completely. Now their gold drives are decent, but they're quite a bit more expensive. And so but the gold drives are good. They're definitely not the SHR as in the red drives that have been failing. And that I don't know if Western Digital got sued over that or not. It was definitely bad marketing. Sean says, correct me if I'm wrong, the Seagate drives like Skyhawk have more features within DSM Storage Manager. Sean, some drives can interact differently with DSM. As far as the difference between a Seagate and a Western Digital, I haven't done that. That would actually probably make a pretty good video. All right. Jacob says, I have 2 racks worth of square hole rails left. One set is white. And yeah, that's cool. I actually am looking for a garage rack, Jacob, so we should definitely talk. Sylvan says, thanks for being around. You have a great channel. I've been watching you since your debut. For medium camera up to 32, I go Reolink. Yes, so this school district that we are that we're bidding on, and I've got to get that bid out this weekend. We were going back and forth between cameras, and we actually settled on Reolink. Let me see if I can find the model here. Oh, and I do appreciate each and every one of you for being here this morning. And if you need IT consulting, go to williehowe.com, fill out that contact form. If you're just bored and you want to say hi, I respond to every single one of those personally. So real quick over here, I am going to go to Amazon, and we're looking at Reolink, their 5 megapixel outdoor cameras, and you can actually get them in a 4-pack, let's see, without the NVR, because we're going to use Synology. But it's an outdoor 5 megapixel, let's see, Reolink 5 megapixel outdoor. And we went with an outdoor because we just wanted to standardize on a single camera that could be used indoor and outdoor. I think it's this model, but there was a 4-pack. I'm going to have to find the link for the 4-pack. But check this out. Reolink 5 megapixel HD surveillance, works with Google Assist, blah, 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 IR, night vision, motion detection. I thought I saw something up here. There was something about, oh yeah, here's smart human vehicle detection for $60. That probably has to use their cloud service, I would imagine. But we're going to let the Synology do the heavy lifting. So, I mean, you can see how inexpensively. Let me start a calculator. This thing was on the struggle bus this morning, starting a calculator. Fans are kicking up, man. All right, so if I need 300 cameras and there's a 2-pack of cameras, I need 150 2-packs. Now, I may be able to get a bulk purchase deal. So the way that we always do this is we never touch the hardware. I mean, we may touch the hardware, but we never stock the hardware. It's always drop shipped to us or drop shipped to the customer. But at 150 times, I'm just going to say $96. That's only $14,400, where if you were, I mean, the cheapest Unify camera that's got these specs, you're going to be double that. So, and they didn't want to get locked into having to have a UNVR and log into each UNVR from each place, and it just makes sense. with Synology, you can have, with the surveillance station, you can have just one main server and log in and view cameras from all of your remote recording servers. So it scales very, very well. All right, back to the comments. DSM 7 release date. I've heard that the release date is going to be mid to late summer. Don't take that for gospel. Make sure you beta test it. We ran into an issue the other night. We tried to, one of the features, I'm going to do a video on it. I'm really excited about some of the Active Directory features. But it's a good thing we had a backup because we ran into some real issues. Now, this is beta software and had to go hold the, I wasn't there. This client is hundreds of miles from me. And I told him, I said, only hold the reset button for 4 seconds. If you hold it for more than 4 seconds, because it locked out all of our accounts, the problem that we ran into. And he accidentally held it for more than 4 seconds. And I was in bed. I got an email, saying, hey, it wiped all the data. I've got to reinstall DSM. But there was a reason that him and I had talked, and he had backed up every single share before then, right? So we got it worked out. All right, let's see. Ryan Sharp says, did you know that the network computer icon for a Windows PC on OS X is a picture of a monitor with a BSOD? I did not know that, and I'll have to check that out on my Mac, Ryan. NewsFan77 asks, when will Grandstream release Wi-Fi 6 access points? Well, they are supposed to be released, and I am waiting on one, but because of the chip shortage, they have not been able to get them released. So you will see fresh content. If you've got a GWN 7630, you'll notice that the firmware, the latest firmware makes references to Wi-Fi 6. So it is coming. And like literally, I'm supposed to be getting one as soon as they're available in the States. Unky Joe is in the house. Good morning, Unky Joe. He says, hurry up, coffee. Bob says, yes, I completely by fluke escaped the shingled hard drives from Western Digital. Good for you, Bob, because it has been an absolute nightmare because we actually have literally replaced almost all those drives. The good news is they have warrantied them, so we haven't had to like write any nasty letters or anything like that. They know they messed up. They know they marketed it wrong, and they're trying to save face. But good for them, Let's see. Bob says DSM has a special feature for Iron Wolf error checking. Yes. Havoc says there will be an hour-long Synology. Why deploying NAS is a better choice for SMBs. I am looking to join. Ha ha ha. So they'll have some good information, but as with everything, right? When the manufacturer does these things, you have to be able to step back, take a 1,000-foot look at it, separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, right? So what's marketing speak? What's reality? But I'll tell you, we install a lot of Synologies, and Synologies are a great choice, especially with DSM 7 for SMBs. Doug Dodge is in the house. Hey, Doug. Jacob says, Aldi Liver, got 4 full height racks. I got to get out of my way. I bought 8 because it was a good deal, and I only need 4. Hey, Jacob, did your ISP come back and say that you have to use their ONT, or was I wrong there? I only asked because I had that ISP, and even though they knew what I did and they knew the equipment that I had, they still made me get their ONT. And it took them overnight to put it in bridge mode, which wasn't too bad, but the guys in the field, that's not their thing, right? Somebody at the office has got to take care of that. Yes, Bob says, hello to all the regulars and welcome newcomers. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Absolutely. Bob and I have been trading whiskey pictures. It kind of feels like we've got a secret club. Bob, we need to come up with a handshake, and we got to get the other fellers in there too. Resi6 says, do you still use Amcrest? I like their doorbell cam. Yes, we still do. Amcrest is, if I'm not looking at Access, Amcrest and then Reolink after that. Sometimes, depending on how the network is laid out and how comfortable the people are, we'll use a Dawa or a Hikvision camera. Anytime we deploy Hikvision or Dawa, we set up firewall rules 100% of the time so that those cameras cannot talk to the internet. It's just not worth the risk. I need to get an Amcrest doorbell cam. Let me see. Amcrest doorbell. I'm getting ready to do some videos on the Grandstream. You know, I did an introduction to the GDS 3710. So we're actually going to wire one up. We're going to program it to the phone, but then I'm also going to show you GDS Manager, which is a complete facility management software that if you're using Grandstream GDS access controls, that you can have these things all over your network. So you could have, it can even be different networks, and you can program access codes, delete access codes, program cards, fobs, everything from one location across your whole network. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, real quick, let's hop over to the Amazon machine here. So the Amcrest 1080p Video Doorbell Pro, it has RTSP, so it's not necessarily OnVIF compatible, which we like to see, but let's see. It's 2.4 gigahertz on the Wi-Fi. It's a smart. It'll take an SD card. That's nice. Motion detection, RTSP, weatherproof, two-way audio, 140 degrees. Do you have to use a doorbell transformer to power it? Let's see. If it tells us, yep, you got to use that. So you could, you can rig up something. You've seen me power the, you saw me power the Ubiquiti doorbell using a passive PoE and an Ethernet cable. Probably 100% avoided the warranty. I find these doorbells very, very interesting. So I might have to order one of those so we can take a look at it. All right, over to the comments. Sylvain, they did not send me the solar-powered camera, so I have not tried those. Jacob Johnson, so if you're in Central Illinois, Ryan Sharp, Jacob Johnson is also in Central Illinois, and he has a couple full-size racks. Now, I'm going to get one of the ones with square holes. Thank you, Jacob. I owe you lunch. I owe you gas money, all those good things. But Ryan, looks like Jacob's got a couple full-size actual cabinets that he's looking to get rid of. Brian says, I have all Amcrest cameras and you get what you pay for. So, Brian, I'm not sure if that means you're happy with them or you're not happy, because I think that the price that you pay for the Amcrest cameras is it's inexpensive, but when you pair it with something like Synology, that it makes a great system. Blaine says that the people, I'm trying to get to the comments. Sorry about this. Blaine says that the people and vehicle stuff is built into the Reolink camera. That's interesting. So it's got some onboard AI processing. That's very interesting. Oh, hey, Jeremy's in the house. If you are not a subscriber with Practical IT over there with Jeremy, go check him out. He's in the, I've got a link to him on my YouTube channel. Go check him out. He does some awesome stuff with Linux, and he really gets into the weeds on some of that stuff that the rest of us don't. So go check him out. Yes, and drive safe. Ryan says, might have asked this, but is a Unify 6 LR a good upgrade over an AC Pro if I only have like 4 AX devices? I don't know, Ryan. Sounds to me like you know the answer to that, but you want me to validate you spending the money when you don't have to, and I'm not going to do that. If you need it, do it. If you don't. And I will tell you this. So I had a customer. He's an MSP. If he's listening, I'm not going to use your name. I am going to give the example where he has half a dozen, maybe 10 sites on his Unify controller. It's one we built out on DigitalOcean. He bought one of the new Unify I can't remember if it was the 6LR or the 6 Pro, one of the ones. It might be the one that's in early access. But anyway, you have to be on the latest controller. You can't be on the 5.14. Now, so this is weird, right? So the UniFi 6 lights will work on the 5.14.23 controller, but some of the other stuff you have to go to the 6. Anyway, regardless, we went over all the risks, all of the things that change, all of the things we're going to have to fix. He decided to give me the green flag. He made a backup. We made a green flag, or he gave me the green flag. 2 weeks go by, and Tuesday night we rolled. Was it Tuesday night? Might have been Wednesday night. One night this last week, we rolled his controller back to 5.14.23. So it does happen. Let's see. Jim Holloway, good morning. Brian says, tried a great scotch a couple weeks ago called the Murray. Yes, I'm becoming a fan of drinking slowly and with purpose these days. That doesn't mean getting drunk. That means relaxing, having conversation. I'm not quite to the cigar point yet. My wife won't do cigars. The smoke makes her sick. But good morning, DJ Ware is in the house. Yeah, so Jacob Johnson has a mini data center at his house, and the tech in the field told him that his ISP could bypass their ONT and give him a direct fiber connection. Now, my ISP here, who's actually one of my customers, they could do that, but then they couldn't control me. They couldn't control any of the speed. They couldn't control any of that stuff. And so they wouldn't do it. But anyway, I used to have the same ISP that Jacob Johnson has, and they knew what I did, and they would not let me bypass the ONT either. So he's got a call in to see, because he emailed me afterwards, and I'm like, well, this company, I talked to him, and, you know, I'll be interested to see what your outcome is, Jacob. Unky Joe says, my task this morning is getting a Microsoft Xbox 360 controller working with all the different emulators in Launchbox, hence the coffee. Unky Joe, is Launchbox on a Raspberry Pi? I need to do some gaming. I need to just chill out and do some gaming with the kids, and that sounds good. You're going to think I'm a real geek, but we got Wheel of Fortune, and William, the oldest, hates playing Wheel of Fortune with his siblings, despises it. The siblings love it. I love it. But when they play on a team versus me and the wife, it gets very competitive, and it's like watching the kids be hangry. Things maybe are said that they don't mean because it's Wheel of Fortune rage. So, Unky Joe, you need to hit me up on that. TN Bighorn says, speaking of racks, if anybody in the Nashville area needs 2 Dell full-size DC9 racks, I've got 2 of them that I'll give away. They don't have doors on the front and back, but they do have sides. So if you are in the Nashville area, you can, TN Bighorn, reach out to me. Would you send me your contact information? And then if you are watching this later and you are in the Nashville, Tennessee area and you want those racks, send me your information and I'll make that connection. Havoc says, Willie, who is your most disliked manufacturer? Starting to note that you like a lot of different manufacturers. I love different manufacturers. Variety is a spice of life, baby. And all these vendors, each of them do something that the other doesn't. And so depending on the situation, we're going to use different manufacturers. So Havoc, can you narrow that down for me? My most disliked PC manufacturer, my most disliked networking manufacturer, narrow that in for me, would you? Doug Dodge says, I picked up a used Adaptec ASR 71605 so I could fool around with stuff and was hoping to use some 2 terabytes. I'm assuming that might be, Doug, that might be, is that a RAID card? I'm not, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head. Bob Carpenter says, slow morning for me today. Good morning. Yes, Unky Joe's in the house. Practical IT, DJ Ware. Bob, did you have a little bit too much peanut butter whiskey last night, brother? Bob helping us out, being the moderator from the frozen tundra of Canada land. All right. Did you ever put in service a WP810 and a WP820 in a UniFi setup? So Sylvain, yes, we have. And UniFi does not prioritize voice. It just doesn't. I don't care if they say it does. I'm going to tell you in practice, it doesn't. We take those out. We put in GWN access points. We turn on enterprise voice and our problems go away. So the WP820 is our go-to. I did get a questionnaire because I'm a Grandstream insider, as well as one of like half a dozen Grandstream certified experts in North America. I'm a Grandstream certified trainer. So I'm also a Grandstream insider. And they did send us a thing asking us what we thought a price point for like an ultra budget Wi-Fi phone would be. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes out of that. Let's see. Doug Dodge says, by the way, given I am not a network guy per se, but a big data guy, let the thugs know if I can help them out with anything. I don't know who the thugs are, but yeah. Ryan says it would be cool, but I have no use for them. Thanks anyway, Willie. Steve might want one. Yeah, Ryan, you might want to ask. I know for a while there in the Peoria IT shop, they had a half rack, and I really wish that I would have had room for it at the time, but I didn't. Is it Zfiel or Zfiel? Can you put a pronunciation for me? Because I feel like I'm butchering it every time. But says, I hate Wi-Fi Alliance naming. Call it 802.11ax. Yeah, that's what it is, 802.11ax. Yep, check out Practical IT with Jeremy. Ressi says, enjoying Jack Daniel's Black Label currently. Well, it is midnight here. Haha. Yes, Ressi is in the land of everything that wants to kill and eat you. So Jacob says, I'm signed up for gigabit symmetric. Would they even need to throttle me? Well, if they're not, I mean, if what you're plugging in is capable of greater than 1 gig speeds and they're not controlling it, I mean, I'm not sure what PON they're using over there. I'm sure it's PON, right? But I also had the 1 gig symmetrical with them, and it was fantastic. And I always got close to 1 gig, and it was always symmetrical. Bob says, the Screwball whiskey is danger, so delicious. Not normally a fan of flavored alcohol, but I'm converted. Yes, it is awesome. And then when you add it to like chocolate milk, or like last night we used Tippy Cow, like, yeah, it masks it and it becomes dangerous. Okay, so Havoc has narrowed this down. A network related example. So I don't hate Cisco. I think Cisco has a place in the market. I don't hate TP-Link. TP-Link has a special place in my heart. I can't get Edge Router X's right now, so you can ask anybody where we're doing physical network segmentation. By the way, if you're not doing network segmentation, why not? It's a best security practice. You should be doing it, but we can't get Edge Router X's right now, so we are buying a lot of TP-Link, the one that I did the video on. We're buying a ton of those and installing those. So if I had to pick one vendor that I dislike, and it's not that I haven't used them or wouldn't use them or won't work on them, but I would have to say the way that Dell does switches really turns me off. So if I'm going to avoid one brand, listen, I've had people offer to give me stacks of Dell switches, and I've worked on them, and I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the interface. I'm not a fan of the nomenclatures they use for things. I'm not a fan of the way we've got to do trunking and access points and all that, or access ports. And I'm just not a fan of it. And so if they come to me, I'll gladly give them away. Dell is probably one switch you won't see me buy for the new rack. I think Tim's got one to give me, but it'll go in there, but you may never see a video on it. I mean, I work on them all the time. I'm not a fan of the way they do it. And they've got a place. People love them, right? So that's kind of it, you know. All right. Sean Woods is in the house. Everybody say good morning to Sean. Sean says, busy morning for me. Moved into the new house yesterday. So Sean was in the middle of a move, and I'm trying to onboard him as a subcontractor. And because Sean really knows his stuff, and him and I have been commiserating about the failures of UniFi Layer 3. And I'm going to do a video on that. I had a customer, a very large customer, like at the state level customer of mine, buy a Layer 3 switch from Ubiquiti to keep it in UniFi and replace a Cisco. And we hit 3 major roadblocks, and so they have now are ordering a Netgear switch, the M4300 that I use everywhere, and we're going to configure that and put it in. So I really love MicroTik. And I know a lot of other people give it a hard time, but I'll tell you what, there are service providers that are built on MicroTik. MicroTik is so powerful. The reason people don't like MicroTik is because it makes them actually learn networking. It makes them actually learn the concepts. It doesn't have a nice, pretty GUI that holds your hand and keeps the training wheels on. You start deploying MicroTik at scale, you better know what the hell's going on. That's all I'm going to say. But Sean is in his new house, and so hopefully things will settle down. And Sean, we can get you. Oh, yes. Sean will onboard in June. I am super duper excited. Sean is one of my favorite people. All right. Let's see. Back over to the comments. Gibby says, in GWN, if you have an analog phone service, can you still use their Wave app? So in Grandstream, if you have an analog trunk to your UCM, yeah, you can still use the Wave app because the Wave app is on the SIP side of the house that's connecting as a phone or as a device over to the UCM. So absolutely, if that's how you're using it. Unky Joe says, Willie Howe, I have a Raspberry Pi running an emulator. I set it up 2 years ago. Too slow for GameCube games. This time I'm building an i5 for the two of us to play old games and some new ones. Unky Joe, let's talk about that. Let's see. Gibby says we started installing MicroTik instead of Edge. Yeah. So, also I'm going to do a video on IT certifications. Hit your thumbs up if you're going to be interested in that and you want to know my thoughts on that. Let me know in the comments, but that is a video I'm going to put out this weekend. Likely tonight I will put that out, but I've been getting a lot of questions and there are other YouTubers that have their opinions. And so people are looking for my opinions on that. So I'm going to give you my opinions on certifications. So let's see. Yeah, Jacob Johnson, I think we're going to have to talk. Gibby says, though, that they have started installing MicroTik ahead of Edge. Yeah, Edge development is kind of slowed. It looks like they're dumping some resources into Unify. So, but Edge stuff is still decent. All right, let's see. James is in the house. James is my VoIP tech currently. He does a fantastic job for us, and he was answering Gibby's question. So let's see. Bob says, Gibby, I love my TIC switches. Got rid of the SMB, Cisco SG300 and SG350 switches. Yeah. Bob and I have been emailing back and forth for years, and he did switch over to those MicroTik switches. And the thing is, where else can you get a 40 gig switch so inexpensively? I think it's sub 600. And they do not, I've tried, they apparently do not send out like media samples and stuff like that. So I'm just going to have to go on a MicroTik spending spree. Ressi says, we replace Edge Ubiquiti for MicroTik. Processing power is nearly double. Yeah, it is. MicroTik is great stuff. Oh yeah, and James is right, Gibby. You can use the Grandstream Wave Lite app. So they broke it up into two. So you've got Grandstream Wave, and you've got Grandstream Wave Lite. So Wave Lite can be attached, as James says, to any IP PBX that does SIP clients. But the standard Wave app has to be used with the Remote Connect service. Yeah, and Unky Joe, so Switch OS does not. So when you look at MicroTik, Router OS, you can SSH into it, and I mean, it is so freaking powerful. Switch OS, they really simplified it. It's all UI driven, so you should be able to pick that one up pretty quick. Maybe we'll do a Learn with Me MicroTik video. I got so many videos that I've still got to get out. It's not even real. Steve says no thank you. So looks like, Jacob, you're gonna still hang on to those other two racks for a minute. Yeah, Adrian. Yeah, he's Adrian. I don't know if I'm just going to say Adrian. Adrian says MicroTik is a Latvian company which was founded in 1996. Yeah, you'll notice that Ubiquiti also has a Latvian office. If you also go back and you look at the history, there used to be MicroTik and Ubiquiti used to be kind of buddy, and now they are not. They are fierce competitors. Well, you know what? Let's go look at the MicroTik. Let's go look at the MicroTik website. So here's their HAP-AC3. Here's their Chateau LTE-12. So this has an LTE backhaul. They're still stuck on their March newsletter. I love it when their newsletters come out because it usually highlights their new hardware. I need to take some MicroTik training. Let's take a look at their hardware. All right, so right now we are looking at everything. So these are like purely routers, and I have a handful of these, and I absolutely like right here. Here's the Hex S right here, sitting on the desk. Love this thing, and this will run the dude the whole bit. Retail MSRP $69. I've got, let's see, I've got another one of these. I've got this dude right here over there. I need to get it fired up so everybody can see it. And MicroTik, you know, their latest router OS, I believe, has been released and has got some features that everybody was looking for. So here are their switches. 5-port gigabit Ethernet smart switch with an SFP cage, $40. That's a crazy deal for $40 if you don't need PoE. Here's the RB260 GSP has 5 gigabit PoE out ports, $55.95. Is that standard PoE or passive PoE? That makes a difference. Here's their fiber box outdoor switch with 5 SFP ports. Reverse PoE switch. That's a very interesting concept. I think I've got this sitting over on the shelf, getting ready to go in the rack. What else? I mean, you know, if you were listening to me last week, I designed a whole system around the. I mean, they've just got more products than you can shake a stick at. You know, look at this, 2.4 gigahertz AP, $19.95. And I love this map light. This thing, and it's so small it gets lost. It is fantastic though. It's full featured. I've got some of these cap lights hanging around. I've got the in-wall AP, which is awesome because this has for places that don't want to upgrade their telephone system to IP. This has got an RJ11 pass-through port. I've got some of these sitting around. Yeah, they just make good stuff, especially if you know how to use it. If you don't know how to use it, you probably hate them, or you probably talk trash about them, or yeah. But once you understand how to make MicroTik go, it's so powerful. And they're like every company has security stuff. Some is more egregious than others. I will give you that. All right, back over to the comments. Unky Joe says, I used Router OS when I was a WISP in my neighborhood years ago. Yeah, so Unky Joe knows that MicroTik is awesome. Gibby just ordered 6 of the HAP-C3s. I've got to get some more MicroTik in here. I run across it in the wild all the time too. Gibby says, anyone notice that one of the TIC's routers look like Starlinks? That's an interesting theory. Bob says, looks like my ISP is yanking my copper lines now that I'm using their fiber. It looks like it's time for a Grandstream PBX. We'll need to support an analog fax line. Bob, you could go with the UCM 6301, and that would do absolutely everything that you want to do. So Doug says, wouldn't a reverse PoE switch be like plugging into your neighbor's electric meter? So I think the concept of a reverse PoE is that the whatever devices are plugged into it power it. I think. I've not messed with it. Blue Robot says, hey, Willie, I've watched your videos on using pfSense on a Protectly box. Never really heard of Protectly until watching your videos. Are they a reliable company and are serious about security? Yes, Blue Robot, they are. In fact, you could actually get an open source BIOS on there called OpenBoot. OpenBoot? Maybe I'm talking out of my ear. Hold on. Or CoreBoot. I'm sorry, CoreBoot. And I run it on several of mine, but they are very serious. And anybody, you can run the CoreBoot, and you can inspect the code for CoreBoot. It is absolutely a wonderful company. I work directly with the CEO over there. They do refer people over to us. We do have the Willie House specials over there, but it'll run all these different softwares. It'll run, it's an x86 based or an x64 based machine, right? It's Intel. It'll run almost everything under the sun. And here's that CoreBoot, which is fantastic. They've got the failover. So as soon as I get the rack in, you're going to see the video rack mounting this using the UPS and stuff like that. But yeah, I use Protectly. It's all I use when I'm using pfSense. If I am speccing it, anytime I use pfSense or OpenSense, I am only using the Protectly hardware. It's probably why I'm not super well liked probably over at Netgate, because I don't buy their hardware. My customers buy their hardware and we configure it, but I go with the Protectly. All right, let's see. Back over to the comments. Jacob says, MicroTik has a learning curve, but great hardware. Yeah, it is great. It's absolutely great hardware. Unky Bob Carpenter said, is directing this at Unky Joe's Playhouse. YouTube's automatic closed caption calls you Monkey Joe 50% of the time. It does, and we all get a pretty good laugh out of that. Yeah, CoreBoot. Unky Joe says, got a client that I need to replace a failing Airport Extreme with extenders for a large house. Suggestions? I have the backup covered. Just need a suggestion for wireless. Thinking Eero. So if you want it very simple, then yes, you could go with Eero. You could also go with a couple Grandstreams, hardwire your main Grandstream and then mesh the others. The Google Wi-Fi stuff works pretty well, so you could use that. But at this point, I've stopped using Amplify because, and maybe they fixed this, I'll have to plug one in and update it and find out. But if your internet goes down, if your gateway goes down, your SSIDs stop broadcasting. Well, if you've got a Plex server or anything else you're running internally, then you can't get to it. It doesn't make any sense. Sean Woods, okay, people stay safe. Willie, get out and walk 2 miles with the wife. I am going to walk a couple miles with the wife. I've already got 7,000 steps for the morning. So, yeah, that's mowing this morning. I got to go get a new watch band. Adrian says Netgate router. So, yeah, Netgate is the parent company of pfSense. And they really like you to use their hardware, which I don't blame them, right? They want to make money, and I want them to make money because I want them to keep making software. But at one time I talked about Protectly on and using pfSense on Protectly, and the CEO came and started attacking me on Twitter. So that's why I usually use OpenSense over pfSense. I just can't, just some of the community stuff over there for new people trying to get in, it sometimes it's not a good thing. So Blue Robot says, I was planning to get rid of two of them, one for OpenSense and one for Linux. Yeah, absolutely. And they'll run, whatever you want to run on them. Ubuntu, Debian, the whole bit. Now, Bob says, curious people want to know, have you plugged in the pancaked Protectly packet processor? So if you saw me run over this on TikTok, I have not. I'm trying to acquire a hard hat before I plug this in. Hard hat, safety goggles. I don't think anything's going to happen, but my wife actually ran over it while I filmed the video, but I do got to get it plugged back in so everybody knows. So Unky Joe says, raining here, no yard work for the spouse today. Going shopping for trees later. Yeah, it's supposed to rain off and on here. It's supposed to get close to 90 this weekend, so it should be a good time. But, well, we are closing in on the 1 hour mark. And I want to thank you all for being here. If you do need consulting, you need to reach out, you need to talk about something, whatever, go down to williehowe.com, fill out that contact form. I do appreciate all of you being here. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. We're closing in on 69,000 subscribers. And like I said, I never thought I'd have 1,000. So thank you to each and every one of you. You should be giving yourselves a round of applause there. But I gotta shower. I gotta get ready to go to this farmer's market. So I hope everybody has a great Saturday. I hope everybody stays safe. Once again, I'm Willie. I want to thank you for